Man, Batman really does know how to solve anything. I have not been a very good comic book YouTuber this year. I haven't gone out to see any movies, especially those based on actual comic books. I didn't get to see Birds of Prey when it came out, having a newborn and all that, and I didn't get a chance to see Bloodshot because it's Resident Evil out there. But lucky for all of us shut-ins, the movie gods have blessed us with the ability to watch these films from the comfort of our own bomb shelters. For the low, low price of $19.99 each, you can watch either a criminally underseen DC Comics movie or a criminally underseen Valiant Comics movie, all without having to go out to a dirty movie theater and risk getting the C virus. Man, what a time to be alive. Now, the unfortunate thing is you can't rent these movies, they're download to own, meaning once you buy them, you're stuck with them. If you ask me, it's a bit of a gamble to actually just go out and buy a movie blindly. You don't know if you're gonna like it or not. If you buy the movie and you wind up not liking it, then you're stuck with it and you wind up wasting your money. But I have a business credit card, didn't have to worry about spending my own money, just the Wulff dens. So I bought both Birds of Prey and Bloodshot on iTunes and watched them both to tell you whether or not you should spend your money on either of these films. Or neither of them. Maybe you should go watch Knives Out instead. I mean, you should definitely watch Knives Out because it's amazing, but what about these two? Let's talk about these two. So let's start with the movie that came out first this year, Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Look, more people probably would have seen this film if you have given it a simpler title. Why not just Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey? Then people know what you're talking about. Anyway, I've always been a little bit iffy about this movie in particular. It really didn't look like a comic book movie made for me. None of the characters were wearing their iconic costumes or any sort of iconic costumes to speak of. The style and tone of the trailers reminded me an awful lot of Suicide Squad, and not in the good way. And everything just looked like it was going to focus especially on Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn at the expense of the titular Birds of Prey themselves. My fears were alleviated the closer it got to release, but they were still there. It helped that I would see things like Ewan McGregor's Black Mask actually wear his black mask. I know you're probably sick of me saying that, but if you're gonna put that character in the movie, why won't you have him wear his most defining costume piece? But I didn't get a chance to see the movie when it first came out. Again, newborn and all that. But I was pleasantly surprised by all the good reviews it was getting. That's always nice to hear when a little movie you don't really have a lot of faith in winds up being a surprise. But now that I don't have anywhere to go and I don't even have to put on pants to watch the movie, I can finally sit down and watch Birds of Prey and see what all the fuss is about. I mean, I did put on pants. I do live with two women after all. And you know what? It actually was pretty good. It's funny, it's well acted, it tells a very interesting story, and it overall does have a unique look to it. Perhaps it was unfair of me to keep comparing Birds of Prey to Suicide Squad. The two films really don't have anything to do with each other aside from the fact that Harley Quinn is in both of them. Suicide Squad was really this stitched together mess that was trying to be both a grim and gritty villains movie mixed with a Guardians of the Galaxy style team comedy adventure. Birds of Prey, meanwhile, is actually more of a street level action movie, more akin to something like John Wick of all things. It's not trying to be a big bombastic film like its contemporaries. We don't get big sweeping shots of the city, we don't get crazy superpowers or globetrotting excursions to anywhere, just the story of a few women trying to take down a crime boss. But this smaller scale I think works in the film's favor. It keeps everything tight and focused and delivers a movie that's thoroughly entertaining throughout. Now, yes, ultimately this movie is more of a Harley Quinn vehicle than it is a true Birds of Prey movie. And look, I get it. Harley Quinn is your biggest moneymaker out of this team, and Margot Robbie is the biggest star in this movie, so I understand putting her at the forefront. And if we are being completely honest here, Margot Robbie just is Harley Quinn the same way Christopher Reeve was Superman and Hugh Jackman was Wolverine. Just becoming the iconic character we all know and love, giving 100% of everything she has to this performance. It's seamless. But that's not to say that the rest of the cast was lacking in any way. I really liked Ewan McGregor's performance as Black Mask. He was the right combination of flamboyant and menacing, kind of like a perverted Cobra Commander in a way. It was great. Journey Smollett-Bell is a great Black Canary, the perfect mix of the classic incarnation and the more punk rock version of the Brendan Fletcher Annie Wu run. Chris Messina is how I've always pictured Mr. Zsasz to talk and act if he were to ever be in live action. I've seen a lot being made of the action scenes in this movie, and yeah, they're really good. They're well edited, well choreographed. The camera work is tight. You can see everything that's happening on screen. Nothing's too blurry or obscured. It actually does look like all the actors are doing their own stunt work. Like that shot from the trailer of Huntress stabbing the guy on the slide. It looks cool in the trailer, but actually seeing it in the movie is something else. Also, I should mention, the music is pretty great. 1,000 times better implemented than it was in Suicide Squad. Is it perfect? Well, no. I felt the R rating was actually a bit unnecessary. There's really nothing about the movie that warranted an R rating specifically. I didn't get the whole diamonds are a girl's best friend segment that was in the middle of the film. I liked Ella J. Bosco as Cassandra Cain, but I didn't understand why that character specifically had to be Cassandra Cain. There's nothing about Cassandra Cain from the comics that is seen in this version of the character. She really could have been anybody. Also, of all the birds, I felt like Huntress got the least amount of screen time, and no movie has ever suffered from having too much Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it. It's just a fact. But overall, this really was a fun movie. It's easily rewatchable, and it's a nice change of pace from the typical films that DC and Marvel usually put out. I wouldn't rank it the best of the current DC movies, that's still Wonder Woman, but it's a very high recommendation from me. Now, Bloodshot, on the other hand, it's a little bit of a different story here. I didn't see this movie because, again, the whole world went on lockdown pretty much as soon as the movie came out. Poor guy didn't stand a chance. And come to think of it, this was another movie that was very poorly marketed. There was no poster for the film until like a month before release. The first trailer for the movie pretty much explained the entire plot of the film, giving away the big twist to it. And I don't know, it just seems like they were specifically marketing it to people who are already fans of the comic, not necessarily the wider movie-going audience, which I don't really understand. I don't think the average person is adverse to seeing Vin Diesel with superpowers beating up other people with superpowers. But that said, I was legitimately interested in seeing this movie and seeing how well it performs. Variety is great for everybody, and the more publishers we have making movies that aren't Marvel or DC, the better it is for everyone. It's just a shame that the movie is kinda dull. Like, you would think a film about a genetically modified super soldier with nanomachines for blood will be a bit more interesting than the film we got. This movie is paced very bizarrely. The first half hour or so takes its sweet time setting things up and establishing characters and setting, to the point where the movie just feels super dragged out and sluggish. And then out of nowhere, the movie kicks into high gear and goes into that really cool red tunnel scene that we saw in the trailer. And to be fair, the scene in the movie is still pretty cool with all the quick cuts and weird camera angles aside. But then the movie goes right back to being dull and sluggish. Anything that could be considered exciting or interesting in the beats between the action scenes just turns into a boring exposition dump. They wind up explaining things that could easily just be shown on screen, or they purposefully drag scenes out when they don't have to be dragged out. They could have easily have been much shorter scenes. And the whole movie is like this. The whole movie is a bunch of dragged out, boring scenes that connect a few really interesting action scenes together. And one weird action scene that's pretty much just Guy Pearce watching Vin Diesel beat guys up on an infrared monitor. I don't get it. It's a shame too, because there are moments in this movie that actually were pretty entertaining. The action scenes were fairly interesting. Vin Diesel does a little bit more acting than his typical Vin Diesel self. Guy Pearce takes his role very seriously in all the right ways. And yes, Lamar Morrison is the best part of this movie. Everything you've heard about him is 100% true. Also, I found it really funny seeing Toby Kebbell dance to Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads. If it sounds like I don't have much to say about Bloodshot, that's because there's not really much to say about it at all. The movie's not offensively bad, but it's also not really that entertaining aside from a few beats here and there. It sits right in the middle of mediocrity, and ultimately that's kind of worse than being a flat-out disaster. So there you go, 2 movies that you could have seen in theaters, but now you can watch from the comfort of your own home. Except maybe Bloodshot, but hey, you might have more enjoyment out of it than I did. To be honest, I kind of like this whole watching a first-run movie in my house. I know people have been saying for years that they should just do that more often, that people would rather sit at home and watch a movie than have to go out and do it, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that. If more people go out and buy Birds of Prey and Bloodshot or other films like The Hunt and Emma, then maybe Hollywood would see that we do enjoy watching movies at home almost as much, if not more so, than seeing them in the theaters. That's not to say I'm never gonna go to the movies again. If we're allowed back out into the world by the time Wonder Woman comes out, I'm definitely seeing that on the big screen. But for something I'm a lot less interested in, like say Black Widow, I'd rather watch that at home. Because it's getting pretty expensive to go out and go to the movies in this day and age, especially if you live in New York. It was $32 to go see The Rise of Skywalker for just me and my wife. For 20 bucks, I can just sit at home and watch any movie I want, and I don't have to worry about some annoying nerd sitting next to me talking throughout the whole thing. Also, snacks are free. Also, I can pause it whenever I want to go take a pee. Now, did you see Birds of Prey or Bloodshot when they were in theaters? If not, are you going to see them now that you can just watch them at home in your pajamas? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. These movies are available on pretty much every single digital platform for purchase. I have Amazon affiliate links in the description so you can watch them on Amazon Prime. And I also have some links to some comics that I feel would go nicely with them as a nice supplement. You're done watching the movie? Maybe read a comic about them. And of course, don't forget that we have new videos on this channel every single Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that, like this video, and share it with a friend who needs something to do during this quarantine so that they don't wind up killing their roommate, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever the hell lives with them. That's important. We don't want a whole lot of murders happening right now. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.